Hi, this is Stefan Gonick, Soulmate Attraction Mentor and founder of the Soulmate Attraction Academy at singletosoulmate.me. Welcome to Love Talk Q&A, the place to be to get your questions answered about finding and keeping the love of your life. Now, in this episode, I'm going to clear up a huge misconception that people have about how to communicate with each other when they're undergoing some kind of issue or conflict or trouble in their relationship. Now, the idea here, just in general, is if a couple has a problem that comes up, how do they talk about it in a way that leads towards resolution and reconnection, coming back together, things like that, instead of in a way that makes it worse, where things start to escalate higher and higher and ends up being this big, huge knockdown fight and can potentially be very damaging for the relationship. So this is all about communication, how to communicate in an effective way. And there's actually many different aspects to this, and I'll have lots of different videos on this ultimately. But I want to clear up a particular misconception. So there's a concept called I messages, I as in I, versus you messages. This actually is funny. As I talk about it these days, not as many people know what I'm talking about as used to be the case, where it was a big thing where people are always talking about, don't use you messages, use I messages. So the idea is that, when you use a you message, a person will tend to feel attacked by the you message, and it will tend to get then defensive. And they'll either defend themselves by, trying to rationalize, explain themselves, or they might counterattack as a way of defending themselves. It's like, how about you, you, right? So even without understanding the full concept of I message versus you message, this idea of pointing the finger, you, right? Versus pointing to myself, I, might start to get some inkling of where we're going with this. So the idea is in I messages versus you messages, is where you're putting the focus of attention. Because here's a big misconception. When people first hear about I messages versus you messages as, good versus bad ways to share how they're feeling about something, they think it has to do with the words I and you, right? Seems to make sense, I message, you message. But it actually doesn't. Because in fact, as you express either what's considered an I message or a you message, you will tend to use the words I and you in both cases, right? Like, I think you're a jerk, right? Or I think you were being really selfish in that situation, yesterday over dinner. That would be me saying the words I and you, but it's a you message because the emphasis of what I'm saying is about the other person, right? I think that you are this, you are that. So it's all about expressing a judgment, a criticism, a thought, feeling about the other person. And when people accuse, that will make us tend to feel accused, right? Like, I'm being called selfish. Or what do you mean selfish? I'm not selfish. Right, or whatever. If somebody's labeling us, judging us, criticizing us with you messages, it's very easy to get defensive. In fact, it's very hard not to, because we feel attacked. Does that make sense? So an I message rather than a you message is about putting most of the focus of what you're saying on yourself. Now, you will have to use the word you because the person has to know what we're talking about, right? So I will say you in an I message, but the bulk of the sentence will be about me, not the other person. So typically an I message will be stated in the form, when you did X, okay, I felt this because I'm the story in my mind, or because I interpret it this way, or whatever. Most of what I'm saying is about me. The only thing I'm saying about you is so you just know what I'm even talking about, right? And when you say, when you did X, the X really needs to be what we think of as like a data description of the event without any interpretations, judgments, anything. So, for instance, it's the kind of thing that if you saw what happened on a video, it's an agreement that we can, it's a description that we can all agree on that's not based on interpretation. Because if you show 10 people the same video, you're going to get 10 different interpretations as to why whatever happened. But the part that we can all agree on is this person walked into the room, this person said these words, stuff like that. So it's the data of what happened, right? Just the specific actions that took place without any interpretation as to the meaning of those actions, right? This is where our judgments and interpretations and things come in. Because the reality is that when our partner does something, we don't know why they did what they did. We see what they did, right? Like let's pick up something super simple. The person said they're going to get home at 6. They got home at 6:30. So the data is you had said you're going to get home at 6 and you got home at 6:30. That's the data, right? Now I might interpret it as well, you were late, you don't care about me, you only think about yourself, it's you're so selfish, da, 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 da. Notice all the interpretations I'm putting on the lateness. I don't know why my partner was late. Who knows? The person could have gotten an accident for all we know, right? Even if the person has a pattern of lateness, this particular time may not have been that. So I don't know why the person did what they did. I might be guessing. I might have, we are interpreting machines. We're built to do that. But the thing that we have to be very careful of is that just because we have what seems like a reasonable interpretation doesn't mean it's right. And often we're not right, okay? Because we cannot read the other person's mind. So a you message or an I message, so you message would be the example. You were late again, you're so selfish, you don't think about me, you don't care about my feelings, da, da, da. You, right? An I message would be, you said you're going to come home at 6 and you came home at 6:30. Okay, so I'm just letting the person know what I'm about to say something about, right? I have to let the person know what the topic is. You came home at 6:30, you said you're going to come home at 6. And I'm feeling, emphasis is now on me. I'm feeling hurt. I'm feeling sad. It makes me think, or the story in my head is that you're not caring about my feelings, right? Now you might think, well, what's the difference? In one case you sounded angry, in the other case you sounded more hurt. But other than that, you're kind of saying the same stuff. So why are you making this big deal about I message versus you message? The difference is how it feels to the other person. The you message version is going to feel very much like an attack, and they're going to get very defensive, right? The second version doesn't feel like an attack, even though some of the similar things are being said. And so the person is much more likely to respond in an open-hearted way rather than a defensive or aggressive way. So in fact, let me just say it to you. Pretend you're my partner and something caused you to be late. And I don't know what it was, but I'm just reacting, right? So I'm going to give you the first version. Okay, it's like, you're 30 minutes late. Do you realize you're 30 minutes late? You don't care about me. You don't care about my feelings. You're just so selfish. That was such a, you treat me so badly. Well, I'll even do the hurt version, just so you feel that. You said you're going to be here at 6 and it's 6:30 now and look how much late you are. You don't care about me. You don't care about my feelings. You're just caring about your own feelings. And I just feel so bad, right? So that's information. So 2 versions of using you messages. Angry version, sad, hurt version. Okay, now you do the I message version. So you came home at 6:30 and you said you were going to come home at 6, and I'm feeling very hurt about that. And it makes me wonder, the story I'm telling myself is, maybe you don't care about my feelings, or, and things like that. The story I'm telling myself is a key line, because that means I'm owning my interpretation. The story I'm telling myself is that you don't care about my feelings. Now, the cool thing you can do is after you say that, you can say, what happened for you, right? This is my story. This is my interpretation. What's your version, right? What's your story? What is your truth, your reality? I'm owning it. I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling hurt. I might be feeling angry. I'll do an I message version of being angry. You said you're going to come home at 6, and now it's 6:30. And I'm feeling really angry. Now remember, I'm feeling this emotion for this reason. I'm now going to share my interpretation with you. I'm feeling angry because the story I'm telling myself is that you're not taking my needs and my feelings into consideration. So what's your story? What happened for you? Okay, so hopefully that felt pretty different to you, these two different versions, the you message versus I message. That one feels like clearly an attack and make you kind of go, brace yourself, or, leaning in for a counter fight or whatever. And the second version feels like, okay, I'm owning it. Sure, I'm having a reaction, but I'm owning it because I'm saying the story I'm telling myself, or I'm interpreting it this way. But what is your truth? There's an openness on my part to being wrong. That's the key. I'm sharing my experience with you. I'm owning that it's my experience. I'm not saying that you're doing these things to me. And I'm not judging you. I'm not calling you names or anything like that. I'm just saying, this is my reaction. This is my experience. I'm putting most of the emphasis on me. This is my experience, and I'm open to hearing your truth. So this is the basic concept of I messages versus you messages. I messages, most of the emphasis is on me, even though I'm going to use the word you in the sentence. In a you message, even though I use the word I in the sentence, most of the emphasis is going to be about you. And that's what's going to make you feel attacked. And it's going to very quickly lead to escalating and a big blowout fight, or somebody storming out of the room, or whatever it is. Right? So there's many elements of having good communication. Is challenging. It's challenging for all of us, partially because we get triggered by things that happened, and intense feelings from our childhood rise up to the point we can't even see each other anymore. We're not really fighting with each other. We're fighting with our childhood experiences with our parents or whoever. Okay, that's probably the biggest cause of what makes it hard to talk things out with our partner. And sometimes, in fact, you just got to take a little break, a timeout, as I call it. It's like, I'm too triggered. I'm too intense. I've got too much, intense feelings going on. If I try and talk it out now, it's going to just get worse. So let's take a 20-minute, 30-minute break and come back together and start over. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do, actually. But when you do try and talk, if you want to avoid escalating into a big fight, try and use I messages, where the emphasis is on me. There's actually a really cool book that talks a lot about how to express yourself in a way that is as easy as possible for the other person to hear. The book is called Nonviolent Communication, which is, I think, a lousy title, but it's a great book, actually. It's by a guy named Marshall Rosenberg, and he talks all about how to express yourself in a way that avoids as much as possible the other person feeling attacked, and therefore invites, as well as possible, a compassionate, reasonable response that's around connecting with each other rather than battling with each other. So, hope that was helpful, and I'll see you on the next episode of Love Talk Q&A. Did you like this video? If so, click on the like button below, subscribe to this channel, and spread the love to your friends. And if you have questions about your love life, please submit them in the comments below, and your question just might appear in an upcoming episode of Love Talk Q&A. Also, if you would like to understand the 3 key blocks to finding love and how to attract your soulmate now, sign up for the free Finding the Love You Want mini course. Well, thank you for hanging out with me, and remember, no matter how long you've been trying, you really can have the life and love you long for. This is Stefan Gonick, International Love Coach from FindingTheLoveYouWant.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time on Love Talk Q&A.